it's not about how quickly things are moving at all. It's about how quickly can you implement the things that you haven't been able to implement in your business in the past. These kind of breakthroughs have been happening in AI for ages. Don't get me wrong, ChatGPT is like amazing as an umbrella of an LLM that does a lot of things and can serve a lot of people and can do all these different use cases because it's got so many different things we can do, but it's definitely not the only one. Hello, everyone. I kind of just want to talk about different models that maybe we don't know about or haven't been using.
Hey, it's Ronsley. Welcome, you AI geek, to Amplify AI.
Anyone you'd like to talk about and you're getting good results with?
Yep, I'm loving NotebookLM. Dropping everything into there, like you can drop in 50 sources and then start getting the notes, the suggestions and everything, running the podcast from it. Then I take the podcast and I feed that into ChatGPT and I say, tell me all the negatives so that I can take those negatives and then turn them into positives. So I gave it my website and it said, oh, look, can you believe all this stuff? Yada, yada, yada. And he makes these, promises and things like that. And I thought, well, if this is whatever you want to call them, the intelligence, pulling it apart like that, then what are real humans thinking? So I'm taking what the intelligence is saying, using their negatives to create positives. And everything that's come out with negatives, I go back in and I change them so that they become positives on a website, so that if I did get the podcasters to go back in, it would generate a fully positive podcast and then send that podcast out to people saying, look, it's not me. Here's a couple of podcasters and what they've done on my site. By feeding it into ChatGPT and saying, here's the transcription of the podcast, because they generally run between 9 to 14 minutes. In the transcription, give me all of the negatives, and now let's turn them into positives.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Anyone else is using something different?
I'm using Gamma just for presentations, and I'm also using something called Mavic, and it's for marketing. Because I'm a nerd, I really haven't had the background with the business, marketing, sales, and so I've used Mavic and some other stuff in Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi's mastermind group, an AI called GG. And I've been using it for my branding and for my business persona avatars.
How do you spell that, Mavic?
It's MAVIC.ai. So there's a lot of apps now that are embedding AI in them. So we're probably all using more AI than we know.
And that's why it's even more important to have your voice and writing style. So it's like it differentiates. So you're paying for Mavic?
Yeah, I just bought it. Well, I use AppSumo for my Calendly equivalent. It's a one-time payment. So I was on there just because I'm on their mailing list and I saw this Mavic and I thought, oh, interesting. I'll burn $100 and see if it's got any merit. And so far it's been okay. Not great, but okay.
So that's a one-time fee that they were selling through AppSumo.
Yeah. I got to say this, Ronzi, I can't help but compliment you every time we get on these damn calls, but and I know you're humble, so you can handle it. But that one session that you did with getting our voice from our writing, where you basically had us, submit 5 pieces of writing. I can't tell you how many times I've used that again and again and again. It's just paying me huge dividends because I'll take all the writing from all these different apps and I'll just run it through that Scott voice. And people have said, wow, this is so you. And it's actually part of me. Part of it's ChatGPT.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it because I find that, for the last 2.5 years, people are just using AI without doing it the right way. And actually, even worse, people are selling that to others. And the ones who don't know any better just are sort of buying. I mean, Mavic is a great example in the sense that if you look at their price point, and how things are structured. I mean, it's a common trend if you look at how software is being released these days. So it's very use case specific. Now, Mavic is a great example for branding. So I think they're targeting obviously small to medium, businesses, especially solopreneurs, maybe entrepreneurs who are dealing with different might have a bunch of clients and they want different brands for those clients. And they have, $79 a month, $149 a month, $49 a month, plus brand workspace. There's obviously a recurring income that's coming. And then they go to something like a product hunt or, AppSumo, and then it gets the word out to many people. And then there are obviously people who in general are getting caught with the whole AI coming up with new things all the time and trying to keep up. So they're,
Yes.
subscribed to all these newsletters. And as a result, every time something new comes up, they're like, oh, I've got to keep ahead. So they, what if this is the best deal right now? And then they go and buy it. And almost always there's some great posts inside the school community of people who've used like other apps that have not really been up to par, but they've seen the advertising come up all the time and they're going, all right, I might as well just spend $59, $79, $100 and whatever. But if you just understand the basics and the principles around it, you can use that on any LLM really. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I find myself there often. I'll look at stuff like this, and social is full of it, literally. But, I just keep going back to the LLMs and think, well, if you know what you're doing, you can probably get as good, if not much better results if you do the work of what you're trying to do is educate. I'm old enough, long enough in the tooth that I remember the internet, coming on board, and everybody said, "Oh, I don't understand it. I don't want to learn it." It's like, you will. It's going to become baked into your day-to-day routine. And so is this. So just stop making excuses. Get on board with a mentor, somebody like yourself, Ronsley, and start learning, because this is pervasive. It's going to be everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's already everywhere. I mean, like you just mentioned at the start, everyone's
everywhere
using it in some form or the other. And what's really interesting is some people are still trying to hide the fact that they're using it.
Yeah.
I think when Facebook first came out, everyone thought that's what social was. Facebook was social. So as soon as they got a Facebook account and started posting and they understood little bits and they were like, hey, I'm a social media expert. And then they started to sell their services as a social media expert because they knew how to, post and create stuff on Facebook. Similar stuff is happening right now with AI, and everyone that has a ChatGPT account is claiming AI expertise. And don't get me wrong, ChatGPT is like amazing as an umbrella of an LLM that does a lot of things and can serve a lot of people and can do all these different use cases because it's got so many different things that it can do. But it's definitely not the only one. And if you've attended any of my stuff, you know that I'm a huge fan of Claude, especially for writing. It's like night and day in terms of posts and copy and articles and emails and that kind of stuff for sure. Also, if you do any sort of coding, Claude 3.7 Sonnet is, wow, it's just, for someone who's gone through so many years of learning how to code, it just feels so easy, right? To get something up and running. Because the biggest problem, even for someone that's and I'm not a great software developer because there are people who, do this day in and day out. I know the basics and the principles and I can code and I've done stuff, but there are still people more competent than me. And the biggest gap was running into an issue. Like, especially if your code compiled, there were no errors, but it didn't respond the way you wanted it to respond. You're like, oh, I don't even know where to start looking to fix this problem. So now with AI, that's such a gap that's just, gone. And if you use Cursor and know how to use Cursor at all, and you don't have to actually learn how to use Cursor, but it's ridiculous. Like, you probably just need the basic building blocks of the file structure and then let Cursor go crazy on it, and it'll write all your code as well automatically. And if you watch this in action, it's kind of really, really crazy. Like, it's just doing, so you can say, hey, I want to build a to-do list app, and then it'll create the file structure of what a to-do list app will look like the back end, the front end, and all that stuff. And you say, okay, this looks about right. And then it'll go in and write all the code inside those files, which is absolutely crazy. So you just have to say, I wanted to do this, and it'll just write all the dependencies and everything. So software development has become absolutely crazy. So today I want to just cover some of the things that, I've been seeing, the different ones that I've been seeing. Obviously, Mavic, DeepSeek is good. If you just see how the tone has changed around DeepSeek is crazy. Initially, it was all the Chinese company, and now everyone's sort of collaborating with them in a large way. Nobby, which is the one that you mentioned at the start?
NotebookLM.
I think there are a couple of places I'd love you to start to know where to look for other LLMs. Groq, Groq.com, for sure. Really good, really fast. And the reason it's fast is because it uses LPU rather than GPUs. And you can use a whole bunch of different models. It's showing you here the difference in speed output, and it is really fast. But here, once you sign up and it's free to just sign in, you could use all of DeepSeek, you could use Google's Gemma, all of Meta's different models. Mistral and Mixtral are really good models that are uncensored, that are good to use. And obviously there's new ones from Alibaba, which are Qwen. So not only is it free, but you can access a whole bunch of different models that are already in here straight off the bat. And again, it's pretty fast. What is a really good resource for everyone here is actually most places now have these documentation on how to prompt better. So under Groq Cloud, there's a prompting guide.
And Perplexity is another good one as well. And to get all of it together, you could go to Poe. So I have Poe, and when you run everything through Poe, you'll find Groq just blitzes everything. And some are crazy and some are really good. But Perplexity is a good one as well.
Also Copilot. And Ronsley, I just got onto a newsletter they send out daily. It's called Rundown. And it's a really good, collection of AI news and tips and tricks. And there's a lot of sort of late and breaking information about stuff like Perplexity, or Groq might be the king today, and 3 days later it gets eclipsed by Manus or somebody else. And everybody, we're frequent flyers that it's moving fast. So not only are we drinking from a fire hose, but everything's changing that's coming out of that damn fire hose. It's amazing. Yeah. So Rundown's actually really good. It's an email distribution list that they send out. I've only been reading it for about a month, and it's really good.
And the reason they're doing newsletters is because they're getting subscribers, and then they get the advertising onto it. And that's all that it's about.
Yeah, it's actually really good. So what I'd love us all to look at, not only y'all, but myself included, is to look at how they are doing things. And I think we should model some of that, is including newsletters for our people, because actually everyone wants to be up to date. They want curated stuff. And with AI, NotebookLM is a huge one. You can create content. You can create content the way you want it to, and you can do it at speed. And you can replicate, and you can do it over and over again. You just have to get into the habit of doing it, or actually just, pulling the Band-Aid off and putting it out there. Because I tell this story a lot. In fact, yesterday I did a podcast interview, and someone interviewed me, and I said that again. I've been putting out podcasts for like 13 years now. I've easily published 1,500 and more episodes in that time. And last year, in August or September, I was having a meeting with Gary, and he told me, he was like, "You're not putting out enough content." I'm like, what the fuck? Are you serious? And every part of me wanted to defend myself and say, I put out all this content, but I decided to listen. And I realized that I wasn't putting out enough content. I was doing just enough to put out content, but not really tweaking and doing the reps after publishing. So it was just publishing and then forgetting the things that come after that. So it was a real good eye-opener for me. And then he was like, so why don't you use AI to do all the things that you feel like it's so hard for you to do? I was like, oh yeah, like, why don't I? Like, what's stopping me? So then I started to do that, which has made a huge difference, not only in the regularity of content going out, but also the consistency of content going on, and also things that I used to abdicate before. Like as a company, we've spent so much of money on getting Facebook ads people in and getting them to deliver leads. You don't have to anymore. I literally have stopped all that. I've done all the stuff myself. And I'm not even joking. The leads that I've been able to get over the last, I shouldn't be, but the email list. But this is just emails over the last month and a bit, or maybe month and a few days of people sort of coming into the system. And this is purely me. There's no ad agency, there's no anyone. And so what I'm saying to everyone here is things have stopped us in the past from putting ourselves out there. And I feel using AI to put yourself out there is like one of the easiest things to do, or if we can just stop and not get in our own way. So just like Poll, which is also very powerful, there's a really good one that I highly recommend from abacus.ai called ChatLLM. And it's $10 a month, but it's got access to all the different models in here. However, I have to say, both Poll and ChatLLM or any other LLM or any of these aggregator LLMs don't give the same result as if I went straight to Claude or straight to Gemini or straight to GPT-4. And I think, I could be wrong, I think that it's because of the underlying system instruction. So if you notice, most system instructions start with, you are a helpful assistant that does X, Y, Z. So even that system instruction might be different in all these. That's why they probably are responding differently. So just to keep all these in mind, I mean, Chat LLM, but there's one that I have open here. LMArena.ai is probably the go-to place for what's ranking right now. And I don't want you to get caught up in how quickly things are moving, because it's not about how quickly things are moving at all. It's about how quickly can you implement the things that you haven't been able to implement in your business in the past. That's the simplest that I wanted to focus on. The only reason you're aware of all this new things in AI is because everyone's creating a new newsletter or just new content going out and you're involved in it. These kind of breakthroughs have been happening in AI for ages. It's just that no one's known about it. It was happening in a silo. So now that everyone's on top of it, it just feels like it's happening so quickly. And don't get caught up in that. So don't get caught up in new API of OpenAI with agents that have been released yesterday and the day before yesterday. Don't get caught up in all that kind of stuff. Don't get caught up in which model is ranking higher. I get caught up in this idea. You know, over the last X amount of years that I've been in business, I haven't been able to break through a certain revenue mark, or I haven't been able to get consistent lead flow, or I haven't been able to deliver in the way that I want, and I haven't been able to get the case studies or the testimonials the way I want them. So whatever the block is, whatever, everyone has them. It doesn't matter how long you've been in business, everyone has them. So go after those. Go after those thorns in your business that have not allowed you to push past a certain point. So whatever that is, so if it is content, which it is for most people who care about delivery more than they care about attract and convert, it usually is, you know, being out there more. So find whichever one it is that you can use that gets you those results.
Hey, AI Geek. Thanks for listening. Your job doesn't stop here. I want you to lend your voice to the conversation. So you can join those conversations, discussions, new trainings, new recordings, and the rest of the AI Geeks by going to amplifyais.com. Also, share this podcast with a friend, another potential AI geek. Until then, much love.